Hello, everyone, and welcome to the In My World podcast. Today we have Jeliamn on board with the podcast. Do you want to tell the audience a little bit about yourself to get started?
My name's Jeliamn, obviously. That's first of all. I'm 28. I'm married. I have a beautiful wife. She's awesome. She's Chinese Singaporean.
Yep.
I'm Indigenous Australian.
Yep.
That's a mix. That's a mix.
Yeah,
we have a beautiful daughter. She's 3 months.
Cool.
She's going to be highly employable. Let's talk about diversity higher.
I'm ticking a box right now.
Mate. An Indigenous kid that speaks Chinese.
Yeah, wow.
Come on,
that's good.
I mean, she's 3 months, so she doesn't speak yet. But yeah, that's my life. I'm the eldest of 9, so I have 8 younger siblings, 4 brothers, 4 sisters, and we are originally from a place called Derby in the Kimberleys.
Yeah.
And so beautiful part of Australia. Grew up in the remote communities around there, Beagle Bay and just up on the Dampier Peninsula. Yeah, good fishing up there. I don't know if you guys are fishing.
We're spear.
Oh, you spear fishing?
Yeah, do you get around that at all?
I did as a youngin, but as I've gotten a bit unfit, can't hold my breath that long. But no, heaps
Beautiful
of fishing
country.
up there, turtle hunting and mud crabbing, and so that was kind of my growing up up north. That was kind of my experience every day. I did a little bit of homeschooling on some of the communities when I was young, but it's a bit hard to track your attendance because I was always fishing. So,
that's so good.
Yeah, so I missed out on a lot of primary school, but
That's good.
Yeah.
Well, we're gonna we've got your 3 nuggets, and we had a little chat before, and your 3 nuggets were pick your corner.
Yeah.
Second one was learning to be honest, and the third one it's just the season. So we're looking forward to deep diving with you, and it's going to be good. So tell us about the pick your corner one. What's that about?
Yeah, pick your corner. I think look when I was thinking about these, I was like, what has my experience been? I mean, specifically in the last 12 months, but what has my experience been in my lifespan?
Yeah.
And around mental health and around challenges and around my my background and the trauma that I've been through and whatnot. And man, when I think about life as a boxing match. Sometimes you're ducking and weaving, sometimes you're getting smoked, sometimes you're absolutely taking on punches, and sometimes you're punching and sometimes you're winning. Yeah. But there are moments in life where you have a moment to kind of break and you're in your corner and you're just taking a moment to breathe. And I think for me, the importance of pick your corner is in those moments of your life, who is in your corner? Because, you can surround yourself with some real negative people that kind of fuel that negativity and that, oh man, and they'll justify like, it's okay. What you're going through is okay and whatnot. And what you're doing is okay. Or you can have some people in your corner that are, come on, man, get back up. Take some hits and throw some out, And for me, I think I have some people in my life who sometimes are a bit too honest, they're a bit too honest, and they're a bit too encouraging sometimes, but that's amazing because I think for me, I've purposely surrounded these people around me for moments when I'm struggling and whatnot, that they're able to speak into my life in key times, and so I guess for me, pick your corner really is about, positioning people in my life.
How did you get those people in your life? Obviously, that's something people aspire to. They say that you turn up like the 5 people you hang around with most. Yeah. How did you build up your 5?
Oh, mate, hard work, I guess. But I think, look, dark times, chaotic moments in life. I think when you're really down and out, life has a way of presenting people to you. But it's obviously your choice to really go out. And my second point, I guess I'll elaborate on that. But for me, I guess it was just being honest and when you're life surrounds you with people, but I guess it's making that effort to go, hey, I need some help right now.
So when you were like a young man.
Yeah.
Well, you're already
still young man. Yeah. Man, I'm not that old.
But would you say you had a tension of picking between you know, the good people and the bad? Was that in your culture?
Question.
Tell me about that.
Yeah, great question. Well, I think a little bit about my background is, I grew up in a house where my stepdad used to beat my mum.
Yep.
I grew up, there was lots of substance abuse, I was very aware of how to, I was very aware of drugs from a very young age. And so for me, that was kind of my environment. My environment was very negative, very toxic, very unhealthy. And I think, you always kind of look and, oh man, the grass is greener on the other side, and I just wanted to be over there. So I guess for me at a very young age, I positioned myself around people that I wanted to be like when I grew up, rather than the people that life gave me.
Where do you think that came from?
That's good.
What came in there?
Well, I always look at it right. People, when they go through their traumatic experience, it sometimes is specifically when you're a kid, you sometimes go, all right, I'm going to be completely opposite of that experience, or I will just continue that cycle. And I think for me, I just had this fuel inside of me that I was called to be more in life, than what life gave me. The cards that I was dealt, I kind of just chucked in the bin, and I was like, man, I'm going to get new cards. And so for me, that fueled the desire to surround myself around really successful people and people that I wanted to be like. I want to live in a nice big house on the coast, So I'm going to surround myself around people that live in a nice big house on the coast,
When he said, I've got my cards, I'm going to chuck them in the bin, that really hits me, like full on, because I sort of resonate with that as well in my story.
I mean, from your experience as well, I guess you've had a bit of a background in a bit of a rough family, and you really did chose the right path as well, and that wasn't an easy thing for you to do.
No, I think almost like having your escape plan when you see I don't want this for me, and you're like, I'm sure a lot of people online would actually resonate with that.
Yeah. It's hard because, in the moment, nothing about your life says otherwise. This is the cards that you've been dealt with. Just take it. And
because intergenerational trauma is a huge thing, and I'm sure you would understand more than anyone. And the amount of people that you're potentially going to heal. I mean, I'm a product of my father dealing with his trauma. The way I am now is a product of that.
Right.
And there's another, probably your daughter is going to be me.
Yes, correct.
Who gets to live in this world free from that.
Correct.
And you should be very proud of that.
And I think that is exactly my thought process, is that, I can't really change the people above me, but my next generation, my legacy that I leave will be one of healing, one of, resilience, one of, success. And I think for me, that's what I want to leave. So what I do in my healing is really important for the next generation,
You must have very, very heavy shoulders. I mean, from our experience talking just before, I mean, you've got a lot of responsibility in your life right now. Do you want to walk us through a little bit about that?
Yeah, no, totally. So, I mean, obviously I'm a husband first. I'm a dad, but I've got 8 younger siblings, one of which has been diagnosed with schizophrenia about 2 years ago. And so he was up in the Kimberleys, had a psychotic episode. And it was probably the worst. He actually was he attempted suicide 3 times before that, and so he's always really struggled with mental health, being an older brother, and I'm really close with him as well, so I think that always really affected me. And so he kind of got flown down here on a Royal Flying Doctor. They admitted him in the hospital. He was in a mental health ward for about 9 months. And in that process, my family were kind of at the end of themselves. We've kind of been through this whole experience with him for quite a long time, that they eventually just pushed him away. And we all put up our walls in a sense. But for me, I was still available, and I tried my best to be available for him. And my family kind of, the conversation came around, he wasn't able to make decisions by himself. And so they needed to appoint a trustee, a guardian, and my family kindly decided that I was the best fit for that.
So that's, you have a lot of weight,
Yeah.
So when you're talking about, you said about learning to be honest.
Yeah.
How does that fit in your whole story? What does that mean for you?
Yeah, I think being honest with yourself. Like for me, sometimes it's so easy to be like, I think I talk about this analogy, hey mate, how's your day been? Oh yeah, it's been good. Like, yeah, I'm real busy, like flat out at work. But really, like, you've just had the crappiest week, and everything is chaotic and meltdown. I think for me, learning how to be honest, first with myself, but then being honest with other people.
Well, that's a perfect segue for what's your second discovery?
Yeah.
Which is learning to be honest.
Learning to be honest.
I already went there, man.
Yeah, I picked up what he was putting down. Don't worry. No, absolutely. And so I think, my points are all connected in a sense, but, learning to be honest is, for me, really, man, some days you're okay to have a bad day. And some days you just got to get back on the horse and keep riding. But if you're not honest with yourself, you can't do either. And so for me, being honest is okay, where am I at today? Like, what do I need?
And what do you need today? Where are you at?
No, that's a great question. Man, I think just yesterday, got home straight after work. My wife is not feeling well, and I've got a big week. It's only Monday. And someone still needs to attend to my baby. So I chuck her in the pram and I'm like, man, I need some air. And so just chucked her in the pram and we went for a walk for an hour in the park. And so there are some days where that's what I need. And then there are some days when I call a mate and go, hey, mate, I just need to crash at yours for a couple of minutes and I just need you to listen,
You've got a variety of different things you do.
And I think that's come over years of learning about myself and healing. I think, not everyone will be at the stage of where I am to be able to read where they're at and go, this is what I need today. But for me, I think as I've been honest with myself, there are days when, man, I need to call into work and go, hey, I just need the day, mate. You're not going to get anything out of me today.
So you I know you work at a company called REGROUP, which is in the mining sector. And I know you spend a lot of time with your staff asking some of those questions yourself, don't you?
Yes.
Tell me about that.
Yeah, so I've got a lot of experience in chaplaincy, and I think that was fueled as well from my childhood trauma of, how can I help other people now that I've at a place where I feel that I can help others. And so it's not my role as a chaplain in the business, but it's definitely a skill set that I have that my employer uses.
So you're in operations now?
Yeah. So I look after projects.
And you chat with people.
And so I work really closely with HR. And so whenever people are going through a rough time, HR just kind of give me a tap and go, hey, you should do a check-in. Hey, and it's not from a work space. It's literally from a mental health checkup. Hey, mate, how you going? Okay, I heard you're going through some stuff. Awesome. Let me just be here for you.
So how do you find, do you find when you ask people that they go, oh, yeah, no, I'm all good, but you pursue them with this honesty situation?
Well, I think, so I work in the mining sector. When we picture a mining operator, it's normally a big, older gentleman that's been through life and, is probably going to stonewall you. Mm-hmm. I think that's been the opposite of my experience. I think, one of my first moments of this was I was in a dump truck driving around with one of our operators, and I was first time I met him. Hey, how you going? Awesome. We're having a yarn, the guy just opened up and was just shared all about his experience and about his past and his divorces and how he's working for his family and whatnot and man, I had the opportunity just to listen, and I think that's just what some people want sometimes.
I think we're all human, right?
Correct.
And we all experience emotions, and that's exactly my experience with 20 Talk as well. We did lots of open groups at bars with, traditionally quite, masculine presenting men, and you have them all sitting around a table. It's dead silent. But the moment you look them in the eye and you say, what's really going on here? They just blurt everything out, because really we are all the same. And that's a beautiful experience to be able to share with people. So yeah, good on you for doing that.
And I think, like, just with the last point, I think vulnerability kind of breeds vulnerability. Like for me, right, when I'm vulnerable, when I open up, man, it just causes the atmosphere in that moment to go, oh man, like Jeliam's being vulnerable, gives me an opportunity to be vulnerable. But if you're not going, deep, people are just going to be surface level regardless.
So Jeliamn, what would you say, like, to our audience who may have mates who they're a bit worried about, but they're sort of stuck in that zone where they've never probably asked a question before about how they're really going and they're really nervous about it? What would you say about that? What would you know what I mean? Like,
I think it's being available. Like, I think sometimes all our mates need is just us being available and literally asking the question, like, mate, are you okay? Like, I'm here. Let's be honest. And I think sometimes even in our circles, we can just think that all our mates are doing okay, and from a distance, oh yeah, he's working, he's living the dream, he's going down to the coast, awesome. But the moment that you go, hey, like, oh, I'm not doing okay, like, this is what my week's been like. I feel like personally, my circles and my friends, we have very vulnerable, authentic conversations because of the culture that we created. I've created being vulnerable in our culture.
So,
you spoke earlier about yourself being a chaplain. So where does spirituality come into all of this conversation for yourself?
This is a great question. I think for me, faith is the thing that keeps me rooted. I think I remember I was sitting in a cafe one time and I was talking to the waiter, and the waiter, we started having a conversation, and he said, "Oh man, I'm having a real bad week and, struggling and stuff." And I said to him, man, for me, faith is the thing that I get to lean on when I feel alone. When I'm really struggling and I'm feeling alone, for me, spirituality and faith is the thing that keeps me grounded. Yeah. Like, I'm never alone. Like, personally for me, because of my faith, I'm never alone. And so that's the thing that keeps me, I guess, sane in a sense.
Yeah, that's good.
Do you feel like, your faith has been allowed you to kind of take on all this additional responsibility and all of these additional responsibilities?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I feel like I can't do it without faith. Without God, I can't carry all of this on my shoulders. You say I have very big shoulders. I have a very big God. Personally,
that's good.
Yeah, so for me, kind of being able to lean on my faith is very important for my day-to-day mental health.
And how has that been for you, I guess, communicating that to people around you in the workplace? I mean, in the normal world, how does that kind of get reciprocated when you speak about your faith?
I think we're living in a society and generation where no one wants to be beaten by a Bible, but people want to know about how we day to day have faith. And so I think for me, I'm not walking around the office telling everybody about Jesus, but everybody knows that I know Jesus, and I think it's through the day-to-day kind of conversations that I get to have with people. And I say vulnerability breeds vulnerability. That's not just my friendship circle, that's my workplace as well. When people ask me how I'm, what's my weekend like, man, I've got a schizophrenic brother, and that's what my weekends look like, just being with him and around him.
So you're basically saying you have to lead that process of creating an environment where it is okay to ask those questions and it's not out of... So, someone has to jump first, don't they?
I think it's our responsibility. If you want to be in a vulnerable workspace, you've got to create that. If you want people to open up about, what they're really going through, I think you have to do that first.
Yeah, that's good advice.
You sound like a very, very strong leader, and I feel like there'd be a lot of people underneath you that would be very lucky to be around you. So I just want to acknowledge that.
Oh,
you should be proud of yourself, because that's
I agree.
Even getting a bit teary.
What's going on in you right now?
I don't know.
Yeah.
That's good. That's good. You're an inspiration, man.
I appreciate it.
That's so good.
I appreciate it.
Yeah.
I think, you know, and I think for me, you know, some people have had some worse lives than me, and have been dealt some pretty bad cards. But I think for me, I have a responsibility to do what I can with my life, you know, and I'm only in control of the people that I'm in control of, and I'm only in control of the circles that I'm in. And so for me, that's just, you know, that's my mission, right?
Yeah,
Is to hear people, is to listen, and it's to be there for people. So
that brings us to our third discovery, which it's just a season.
Yeah.
Do you want to explore that a little bit?
Yeah, I hated that phrase as a teenager.
There's probably a lot of people in the audience that don't understand.
And I think it's like, let's be honest, like if you've ever heard that phrase, it's probably because you're going through a rough time.
Yeah.
People are trying to help you, and they're going, it's just a season. Like, you're okay, you're going to get through it. But who knows, when you're in the middle of a storm, you can't see sunshine and rainbows. You can just see the storm. And so, I mean, so as a teenager, I hated this phrase, because my season didn't just go for a month or two. It was my whole growing up was a season. And I had my mentors and people that were around me. And I feel like I'm very blessed to have had people in my life that have come and just been available. And so, you know, I've had a lot of people in my corner over life, and they've all gone, you know, man, it's just a season. And for me, being in those moments, you know, where my brother's trying to, you know, attempting suicide, and, you know, I'm growing up in an environment where, you know, my family members are addicted to drugs, and, you know, I'm watching my mum get beaten by my stepdad, you know, and then I have these people who, in my eyes, aren't going through nearly anything close to what I'm going through, go, man, it's just a season. Now, I just want to tell these people to shut up. Like, you know, like, mate, what are you on? You know, you're telling me that this is a season, but it doesn't feel like a season. But I think now it's something that I've learned that actually you're absolutely right. It is a season.
Yeah,
you know,
but they're probably saying that just so that they don't have to feel, because they feel awkward about sitting there with you. And that's just like,
but I also think it is a gentle reminder of it is just a season, because I look back now, I'm 28, and I look back 17, 18 was probably the hardest part of my life so far. It was, you know, I mean, my mum was spiraling in drug addiction. You know, my mum was in a mental health institution. I was looking after my siblings because I had a full-time job, and I was looking after them. And I was driving them to school and stuff, then I was going to work and, you know, working all day and then coming home and looking after. I'm 17, 18. And I mean, for me, right, at that time, I wasn't able to share. You know, I wasn't open and I wasn't vulnerable. Like, now I have these lessons that I've learned. But as a 17, 18-year-old, I'm not telling people about what I'm going through. You know, to the point where my employer fires me because, you know, I've had a couple of sick days when really my siblings are sick and I have to stay home and look after them. And, you know, so for me, I think, you know, I look back and I go, you know, that was 10 years ago. And my life is completely different now. Like, I'm living a blessed life compared to that. But it was just a season. And so I think in those moments, you know, obviously we can't see anything outside of that. But I think when we're reminded by people that care about us that it's just a season, it is really just a season. As long as you are doing things to help get out of that season. And I guess sometimes you can't. Like, sometimes you're not in control of things that are happening around you. But you are in control of yourself and your emotions and what you do to, you know, kind of.
In some ways, I mean, you've probably learnt a lot and been, you know, forged and strengthened through those seasons of potentially darkness. Would you ever have taken that back, looking back, if you're reflecting? Or would that be something that has helped you kind of be who you are today?
Yeah, well, I guess for me, right, my whole life is about, specifically right now for my daughter, to never have to experience anything that I've gone through. But I personally am grateful for the experiences that I've encountered, because it's helped shape me as a resilient person as I am.
Yeah.
And I mean, I was just having a conversation on the way here that out of a lot of people, it would be justified if I just rolled over and just stayed in bed. You know, like it would be justified for me to just go, man, this is hard. Like life is hard. It would be justified because of my experiences. But I think personally, I just don't want to live that life, you know, personally. And I know not everyone has that kind of resilience. And,
that's good.
But I just want to shoot for the stars, you know.
That's good. Well, you're doing it.
Yeah.
Like you're a very inspirational man. You're very inspirational. And, I feel quite moved, as Leighton feels quite moved, just listening to your story. And I reckon
Powerful.
A lot of people online are really going to be encouraged by you as well. So
100%.
Thanks
100%.
Thanks so much, Jeliamn, and we'll probably get you back at some stage because you're a gold nugget, man.
Yeah, he's a gold nugget on wheels.
Well, I appreciate you guys for creating this space, right? Because I mean, I look back 10 years ago, I didn't have resources like this, you know. So I really appreciate you guys allowing me to share my story.
Well,
it's good.
Thank you so much, Jeliamn, and to everyone listening right now, if you can follow our podcast and like it, that would be great. But we'll see you for the next one.
Yeah, cheers.
Awesome.
Thank you.
See ya.